as I have said in the last session, that we are discussing on the type C of the neurons based on the number of dendrons. We have seen that we have almost 3 types, that is unipolar, bipolar, together with the multipolar. And now we have to see this figure, that is figure 4.6, that show the structural classification of the neurons. So we see the structural classification of the neuron based on the number of dendrites. The first here, that is A, it is called unipolar. This one is the unipolar. Now you can see this one is the cell body, but it has got only one dendrites. As you can see here, this one is only one dendrite that compose a lot of dendrites. That is meaning of uni. Uni meaning that one. But also we have the bipolar, and we have seen that a good example of bipolar neuron is the sensory neuron. Since now you can see here it has only one cell body, but within the cell body is where now we have two kinds of dendrites they arise from the cell body. But apart from that, we have pseudo-unipolar neurons. Pseudo-unipolar neuron. The word is pseudo, meaning that false. So here we can say that the pseudo-unipolar neurons, as you can see here. But this one, it is located, this soma, it is located at the middle part. But also they have the unipolar, that is only one dendron. That's why we call it pseudo-unipolar. Lastly, we have multipolar. As you can see here, this one is the kind of motor neurons, or it can be motor neurons, or inaweza ikawa interneurons, ambapo hapa sasa unaona hii cell body. Within the cell body there is a lot of dendrites, but it has only one axon. So hizo ndizo types of the axon, meaning that are the types of the neuron based on the number of dendrites. So my student, before we are proceeding further to look another thing, I have to leave you this task. Make sure that you perform with your students or with your friends, so that you have to uwe na hayo majibu. So the first task here, now you can see, explain the adaptive features of the nervous system. So also this I have already discussed it in our topic, that is coordination on the nervous tissue. To shall discuss. So kama utakuwa hujaelewa, it is better to go through that, you will understand. And also another task is, with the help of diagram, describe the types of the neurons. This is general question. Amekwambia with the help of diagram, describe the types of the neuron. We have seen almost 2 classification of neuron. That is based on the structure, and based on the structure and the function, and also based on the number of dendrites. Kwa hiyo sasa utaanza kuzielezea zote, kwa maana kwamba kama hilo swali la essay question utakuwa nazo pointi 6. And make sure that hapa amekwambia with the aid of with the help of diagram. So within your explanation or within your diagram, you have to include, within your explanation you have to include the diagram that explain each type of the neuron. So that is the task. So my students, make sure that you make a practice with your friends. This question, it can appear into your exam. It can be either nectar, it can be either your mock examination, your annual, your terminal examination, and so on. So make sure that you practice it with your friends. So now, after we have seen now all of the types C that are included within the neurons, now my students, I have to take you through another thing, and this is nerve C impulse. And this is nerve C impulse. So we have to know what is this nerve C impulse, that we have already discussed about it. When we begin to start about this coordination, we have said that nerve C impulse. So what is this nerve C impulse? Now we are saying that a nerve impulse is an electrical signal that travels along the axon. is an electrical signal. It's just like an electrical signal that is traveling through the axon. And here I have said that it is generated when the nerve cell is activated. It is generated when the active cell it is generated. My student, let's take a good example that we are familiar with it. For example, we have a wire. You know that we have electricity. Ule umeme unapitishwa na waya. Waya ndizo ambazo ziko responsible kwa ajili ya kupitisha ule umeme. Sasa huku kwenye biology, ile waya ndio ambayo tunaita axon, na ule umeme ambao unaopita ndani ya ile waya ndio ambayo tunaita electrical signals. So zile electrical signals zinakuja kutoka kwenye mazingira, zinabi transmitted or transferred kutoka kwenye zile stimulus kuja kwenye electrical signal by the process that is called transduction. And thereafter it is transported into different parts of the body so that it can be integrated. And here we have said that it is generated when the nerve cells is activated. Here's the electrical signals that are traveled through the axon. They are activated when the nerve cells are activated. Pale ambapo nerve cells are activated. Tukisema nerve cells, the same as the neuron. So ile neuron ikibe activated, ndipo ambapo sasa inakuwa na uwezo wa kubeba hizo electrical signal kutoka kwenye one part of the body to the next part of the body, or the next part of the neuron. So now we can say that movement of the ions in and out of the neurons cause the sudden change in the voltage across the wall of the axon. So hizi impulse au hizi nerves impulse au hizi electrical signal zinapitaje ndani ya hii neurons au nerve cells? Here my student, we are saying that hii movement ya ions out of the neurons are caused by sudden change of the voltage across the walls of the axon. So there is changes that are occurring within the axon that make the impulse to be carried within the axon very easily. And also we are saying that this triggers a wave of electric activity that passes from the cell body along the length of the axon to the synapse. Kwa sasa zile electrical signals or zile electrical activities are passed through the cell body. The cell body thereafter zinapita kwenye ile structure ya dendrons where now there is a possession of different kinds of neurotransmitters. They will be responsible for transmit that impulse kutoka kwenye nerves moja kwenda kwenye nerves nyingine. So before we finish, also we have to know something that is very important and is very crucial in transmission of impulse. And this is called the resting potential. It is called the resting potential. What is this resting potential? That we're going to see later on the next session. Also, we have to have that prior understanding on what is this. So now we are saying that this resting potential is the electrical change differences across the membrane of the neuron when it is not actively transmitted a signal. So hilo tunasema change inatokea ndani ya axon pale ambapo ile neuron inakuwa katika resting potential, kwa maana kwamba haina impulse yoyote ndani ya axon, ndio inakuwa kwenye resting potential. So tukasema kwamba mfano wake is just like a battery that charged but not yet connected to the circuit. Yani kwa mfano umechomeka simu charge kwenye socket lakini haujawasha umeme, ndio ile state ambayo tunaita resting potential. And the inside of the neuron is typically negatively charged compared to the outside charge. Kwa ukiangalia ile structure ya neuron, ndani panakuwa ni negatively charged compared to the outside environment. And also this potential difference is maintained by the active transportation of the ion across the membrane. So here potential it is attained when there is a transmission or active transport of the ions from the inside of environment of the neuron to the outside environment of the neuron. We're going later on to see in the next session, but here you have to be aware about what it did. And last thing here, it is action potential. Also, what is action potential? Here we are saying that action potential, this is briefly a rapid change of the electrical potential across the membrane of the neuron, which travels down the axon. It's like a pulse of the electricity that carries their signal. Kile kitendo sasa cha axon to carry out the information and cause different kinds of changes that are occurring within the wall of the axon, ndio ambayo sasa tunaita action potential, kwa maana kwamba neuron inakuwa inafanya kazi ya kutransmit impulse. And here we can say that the action potential is triggered when the neurons receive a sufficient strong stimulus, causing the membrane to become permeable of sodium ion. So within the neurons is where now we have different kinds of ions. There is sodium, there is potassium, there is chlorine. All of those, they are found within the neuron. Kwa hiyo sasa tunasema within the action potential ndio ambayo ina trigger the neuron to receive sufficient or strong stimulus. Itasababisha sasa zile ions ambazo zinapatikana ndani ya ile membrane zitaingia ndani au zitatoka nje. Hiyo ndio tunaita action potential. Generally, finally we can say that this influx of the positive ions reverse the polarity of the membrane, causing the action potential. So hile retrieval or receiver of the ions to enter through the ions or to enter through the neurons ndio ambaye ina bring about the action potential. We're going more later to clarify on the next session that of this subtopic, that is nervous coordination that is occurring within an animal, and thereafter we'll understand of what is action potential and the resting potential in general. So my student, after saying so, and this marks the end of our today's session, and thank you for your attentively listening and for following us at KTZ. Bye bye, have a nice moment.